favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes of November 9th.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Anything to add, Michael?
No.
Sounds pretty short.
Yep.
Anything else? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have anybody interested in public input?
Not at this time.
Okay. Michael, fire station number 3. The
So-
addition.
Yeah, so, it's condensed sense real quick. You can see the bottom line there at the bottom. It's
That's why you told me to consult somebody for.
Yeah. These things are getting up there, and I haven't been able to confirm, every number with every sub yet. The plumber and electrician, most notably, half part of the plumbing is going to be done by the time Alitech leaves. They're going to do footings tomorrow. We got a little bit of a bump in the road. We got to get some engineering work done by the end of the week to submit a PBN, continue on, but they're gonna start tomorrow, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. I gotta go back to the office and do some work for Jonah, but I think they're gonna be all right.
PBN?
Permit by notification for shoreline. Portion of the project, portion only, not even the whole thing, but because the portion is, all has to get permitted, a portion of the project's within 250 feet of the actual river. So PBN it is. So, this is the basic number here. I'm feeling pretty okay about these numbers. Again, I'm going to reconfirm with, reconfirm with plumbers, electricians, most notably. It may have to be a staged thing. The plan does lend itself to being staged. So if the storage area has to stay cold, unfinished storage, it's cold, unfinished storage. That'll be the way it has to be. But we can start with the extractor and make sure we get that done, move down the hall to get the bathrooms done. And hopefully get it all done, of course. But if it has to be staged, it has to be staged. And we're going to do the best we can, as fast as we can. It's been clunky when you move this fast. It's going to be clunky. But on the other side of things, we don't have the 33% general contractor fee. We don't have thousands of dollars in architects and things like that. Project probably wouldn't have gone if we did. But that's we're doing okay. We've got good working partners, and I think we're going to be all right.
So they're starting this week?
Tomorrow is going to be footings.
When do you feel like it'll be buttoned up and the inside work?
We'll be able to move inside probably in a couple of weeks if he can keep going consistently. So we don't want to get too far out ahead of our skis. Just starting, we kind of are ahead of our skis a little bit for the permit by notification, quite honestly. I did call the state and let them know that we're kind of, so if I can get all of this put together with the engineer, what we're using is the engineer drawings for the Main Street project. We're able to use those. We want to make sure that the basin retention pond behind the fire station will take on that little bit of water coming off the roof, but it's a mandate. We have to have it. We're over 30% of impervious coverage on that lot. It's a tiny little lot, and so that's where we are right now. So it'll be a lot of pictures and reliance on history, and hopefully we can just get this thing done. Shoreline only takes 5 days maximum. They have to get it done at 5. But the young man I talked to yesterday who's taken over that portion of the approval process, I'm feeling really confident that if we give him a quality submission, which I expect to provide, a day or two, we should be all set. So feeling good about our chances.
Great. Ken, any questions? No.
Yeah, so we're looking at a total cost of, we'll round up to 140,000. So we're looking at 30,000 from the fire station's capital reserve fund and 110,000 from the 2022 operating budget.
What part of the operating budget?
The projected 335,000 we're looking to come in underspent.
Right, but do we put it to any line item?
We can either, it's somewhat, I could see an argument to be made for either, but it could go to the fire department budget or it could go into general buildings and grounds. I almost feel like, even though it is fire department related, I almost feel like building and grounds is a little more appropriate in this case. It's not just a normal building, building maintenance item really. So I think a general facility improvements would be more appropriate posting.
I'll
make the motion? You got that? Are you taking minutes?
I am.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Blake.
Stay too late.
Have a safe trip. Next item on the agenda is a request for consideration for sale of town property, tax map 16, lots 13 and 19.
So these are the lots on either end of the intersection of Marcy Hill Road and Route 12. So just by coincidence, you know, I got a request for one, Bill got a request, I think, for the other, just consideration if it's anything the town's interested in. The one on the south side heading towards Troy was actually donated to the town, was considered as location for tire warehouse before they located that facility on Route 10. Based on a kind of preliminary review of the file on that one. Usually we get these requests and you pull up the file and it's like, you know, empty, there's like a tax card in it. This one is like, I thought I got the wrong file for a second. But from what I can tell, it was donated without any encumbrances. It was just a pure gift. So the town has flexibility to use it, sell it. We'd go through the 4114A process. If it was something we were gonna sell, get comments from the planning board and Conservation Commission to see if they had any reason why not to go forward with that. The other one, I haven't done as much research in. I believe that was just a tax deeded one. So that's a little bit easier to dispose of. We could still use the municipal process. I don't know of any active plans to do anything with either of them at this point. It might be worth talking to council about where it is, where they do abut the road, if there's some way to, because I think that's a road we have just through use, not the deeded land. Might be worth deeding that land of the road to the town before we sell them, which would take a little bit of time, but might be worth the effort to have own the fee ownership of that land. So basically haven't done a lot of research other than, like I said, a cursory review of the files, but just wanted to get the board's kind of temperature, if it's worth looking into further or sit on at this point. Okay, either way, just would like to be able to get back to these folks. And either way, it'd be a public process. We'd get, whether it's municipal or some other marketing to, you know, make sure we're getting the best value for the town.
I can explain a little bit about 19. I was approached by someone who's interested in purchasing it. It's essentially wetland. Doesn't really appear to be anything that could be developed easily. The other one, I'd be interested if we, as a group, took a look at the overall, because there's a good potential there for residential development on the lot that was tire warehouse, in conjunction with the lot that's owned by someone else, if they were willing to put it on. And there's already Class 6 road, 2 Class 6 roads going into that one. So,
Well, there's a right of way for the driveway on that 40-foot stretch that goes up to Emerson's business.
yeah.
So I know that's something he might be interested in taking ownership of.
Yeah, I just think I'm in favor of getting rid of both, but I'd really like to take a look at this one for future development. I wouldn't want to see somebody buy it and put a conservation easement on it.
Agreed.
Consensus?
Continue to proceed. Sounds like yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Sounds like the 19 is a more easier. I got at school that I go.
It's a thicker file.
Yeah.
We knew what you meant.
I'm glad my grandkids aren't listening. Holy cow, I lose complete control. It does sound like that'd be an easier one. Maneuver through the process. Okay, next item on the agenda is an update from Cheshire EMS. This is subsequent to their presentation upstairs.
Correct, so a week or two after that meeting, I had a brief meeting with County County Administrator Coates, Commissioner Wozniak, and Chief Spain. They were doing a couple of Zoom meetings with, that they invited all fire chiefs to, but they also wanted to meet with me to discuss kind of basically the same thing that was going to be on the Zoom meetings. So they presented me with a draft contract, which is included, and they just kind of reiterated their interest in supporting Swanzey and obviously the other communities in the county, however they can. Not a hard sell to sign a contract, just looking to be supportive and be helpful in whatever ways they could. So basically, I don't know necessarily what as we've kind of talked about, we're under contract with Deluzio, obviously, for primary ambulance coverage. So I don't know where they fit into what we do at this point, and they're still, I think they were hoping to get up and running yesterday. I don't know if that's, I believe that was the date they quoted, so I don't know if that was kind of a soft launch. So basically just kind of looking for direction on what the board's interest is in exploring the relationship. Like I said, we have a primary ambulance company now. I know there've been a couple different options bandied about. They mentioned just kind of getting them listed on our run card, what it's called. Kind of if Deluzio's unavailable, goes to Keene. If Keene's unavailable, kind of have them be next in the queue. I asked if that happened, would there be a cost either for the standby, for the calls, and at that point they didn't know. So I think we need to get an answer to that. But we wouldn't want to get a bill for them responding to calls that we weren't expecting. But so basically, it's just an update that I had the meeting, I got the draft contract, and to see what the board's interested, where you see this potentially going.
I'd like to meet with them and Deluzio and discuss all the options. Doesn't have to be together, obviously. Good. Works for me.
Well, I think that perhaps it should be
Do that too.
so that we can't say he said, she said, it said.
Permanently recorded, Ken.
He's got a cough button over there,
I agree with the concept of keeping discussions open. I'm just not sure why we would go down that path. We have a 3-year contract with Deluzio. We have backup with Keene. We have our own ambulance. I just always open to talking to people, but I'm not sure I understand the value in having that discussion since we are under contract. And the proposal that they're making, what appears to be backup, is A, not specific, and B, where it is specific, is more expensive than what we're paying for primary. So again, I agree with Sly with regard to a discussion, but and Ken, but I don't think I'd want to have it where they think we're actively considering this proposal. I think it's more trying to get some clarity, at least for me, some clarity on the future. I really don't want Deluzio to think that we're trying to undercut them because we've got a 3-year contract.
Yeah, and I spoke to Rob Deluzio today because he had kind of heard through the rumor mill that we're exploring, and I said, not really, to my knowledge. They asked to meet with me. I'm always happy to get an update on the operations, and they met with the board a couple weeks before that. I said, to my knowledge, there's no real consideration of, we're under contract through 2025, to your point. I don't understand there's any discussion of changing that. So he knows that now. So, but I think to the point you both raised, I think, I would say have both in, so there's no, like Ken's saying, there's no opportunity for things to be misconstrued or misunderstood, or that there's any idea that there's any sneaking around. Obviously, it's all been in public meetings, so there's not that, but just, get everyone together. This is kind of the current situation, and how do you guys see yourselves fitting into that? I think that's a good idea.
I think you should go back to Deluzio and let him know emphatically that we are not looking at other options. He should have the comfort of knowing he's got a contract.
I did. I told him that.
Well, you said the words you used weren't as definitive Maybe with him you were definitive, and I hope you were.
Yeah.
But if you weren't, I would go back and I would encourage you to go back and be definitive, because this is,
This board could be definitive and we could meet with them.
we can absolutely meet with them, but I don't think we want to have the opportunity to develop that we're considering options, because at least personally, I'm not considering any options. I don't know about my colleagues, but I'm not. They're providing a good service, and they're a local company, and we've got a contract until there's shortcomings. And to my knowledge, there are no shortcomings. You know what rumors can do.
Indeed.
That's why I suggested that we meet with all parties at the same time. So there isn't any misconstrued.
You're right there with me. More easier.
Sounds great.
I think it's also an opportunity that we should consider exploring what Sly has been talking about with regard to future direction, and with regard to ambulance service, really maybe appointing a committee that would advise us with regard to the viability of what we should be doing from an ambulance perspective, an EMS perspective.
Whatever it's worth, I did not see the two ambulances parked up in the courthouse.
They're down here now, I think.
I was gonna say,
I saw them on Route 12 a couple times. I'm guessing they're parked down here.
somebody said that they were supposed to be functioning yesterday,
That's what I heard. So that's what the plan was couple weeks ago.
so, obviously they've got 2 units in the barn, so to speak.
Good. How do you feel about moving in that direction?
Yeah, I think it's just, they're housed here. I think it's doing our due diligence to see what's available. Just because they're offering a contract doesn't mean that's what we should go for. Just because we have a contract with Deluzio doesn't mean it couldn't morph into something else. We could either keep the status quo or we could try to get something better for all parties.
Is it worth taking that on as a task to get people to research?
Well, I think just getting both parties together or separately just to flesh it out and see what they think. Obviously, if one of them punts, it's game over, it's not gonna happen.
Anything else?
Nope, so I'll get a meeting coordinated, welcome them both, obviously, if one's unavailable or not interested for whatever reason, but try to coordinate them both for upcoming.
Yeah, I think taking Ken's guidance with that, if try to find a date when they're both available. If one's not interested, that's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
We should try to coordinate that, so.
But if somebody's not interested, then I think it's open for further discussion.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Sounds good, thank you.
You all right with that?
Yep. And did Jen get a hold of you at all about it?
Did not hear from her, no.
And she's not on Zoom. Can you tell Josh?
Hey Josh, wake up. Anyone on Zoom?
Nope, just Steve Biddle.
Steve, have any comments before we close?
Nope. If he spoke, you would be able to hear him through that.
Oh, okay. Anything else, Michael?
From EDAC, were you at the EDAC meeting yesterday? So you have a memo here, a letter from J.R. Coughlin, the chair of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, requesting that the board of selectmen request that DES, Department of Environmental Services, exempt a portion of the protected shoreland This memo mentions exclusive to homestead woolen mill property located at tax map 72 lot 31. I would also ask for consideration of map 57 lot 50, which is the West Swanzey AA Memorial Park property. So I would like to include that as well, but it's requesting exemption from the provisions of RSA 483B. Basically allows some additional consideration for development near the river. You know, like I know the mill, they're looking at like patios and grills and stuff like that. I don't think it relates to buildings, but would just give us a little bit of relief from the shoreline considerations. So I would ask that the board support that for both those properties, and staff can start the request.
Should we put the detention pond area next to the fire station in on it too?
Sure. I don't have that map off the top of my head, but I can probably find it.
Do you want consensus or do you want a motion?
Consensus would be fine, because there might be an application or something you need to sign.
You got it.
Looks good to me.
Alrighty, thank you.
Any non-publics?
No, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Motion adjourned.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Josh.
Yes, thank you. Anyone finding anybody to do your job and free you up a little bit?
Recording stopped.
I don't think they've really started yet. You wanted to do them for a little while, right?
What?
You haven't really started recruiting yet. Didn't you wanted to do them yourself for a little while, right? Make sure.
I didn't want to do them, but I.
Well, I think Alex wanted you to do them.
Yeah. So we talked to Rebecca. I forget her last name. I think she introduced us to you. Maybe.
Oh, Rebecca Landry.
Yes, Rebecca Landry.
Yeah.
She said she knows somebody who does meetings for other stations around, like professionally. So we're hoping to get in touch with him. He could maybe take over some of the sponsored meetings and some other stuff. Just because we are so swamped.
What?
I know.
That's a good problem.
I know.
Thanks, you too.
Yeah, good night.
Happy selling.
Oh,